Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headlee and Dr. Gordon Fimreite, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now, here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Mike Headlee. With me is Dr. Gordon Fimreite. Welcome, Dr. Gordy.
Hi, Mike, and welcome, viewers. Today's subject is on the hidden health impacts of perfumes, cosmetics, scents, and fragrances. I think anybody that's watching this right now has walked through a department store and smelt all those chemicals. Basically, I shouldn't call the chemicals, but the perfumes, colognes, health products. In the back of your mind, you're probably thinking, is this really safe to be breathing this stuff in for such long periods of time? But also, I've jumped in taxis and they have hair purifiers put over like their vents. So you're just like breathing this stuff in. And a lot of people, I don't think, are aware of really the potential hidden health impacts of that. So with that said, welcome to today's episode of the Health Angle Podcast.
I'm going to start off, Gordy, by telling our listeners on YouTube, I watched this and it's very, very well done. There's a movie called Stink. The movie, the chemical industry does not want you to see. And it's an hour and a half. And it's worth an hour and a half of your time because it describes a father and has two girls, and he bought some pajamas for his girls. And I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but pajamas have scents in them, apparently. I just don't get it. And his struggle to find out what this natural fragrance was. So watch Stink on YouTube, full-length documentary movie. It says 2021 it was released. Really good, well done. So kind of highlights what we're going to talk about and the dangers of inhaling petroleum fragrances and scented products. I don't know about you, Gordy. I'm kind of curious what your experience is, but I get a lot of clients that are office workers, and they say, gosh, I get headaches with such and such strong perfume, and it's like I get a rash, or my breathing isn't as good. And I walk by Bath and Body Works in the mall and those type places, department stores, and they just feel plugged up and feel like they're getting a sinus infection. So it's a real thing. I think fragrances, I know we talked last time about vaping and things like that, but fragrances are kind of like the new secondhand smoke too, where people really got to watch out for it. So I'm curious, what's your experience in practice with people talking about sensitivities to inhaled and fragrances and things?
Yeah, that's the part that's kind of scary about this industry is a lot of times you may not know where it's coming from. You may have headaches or a rash and you're contributing to something else. And I think a lot of times when you go into your dermatologist or you go into your allergist and they're exploring what's wrong, they might look for food sensitivities, but are they looking at fragrances and chemicals? Are they really asking people, do you have air filters that are plugged into the wall, or are you spraying your house? I don't think there's enough exploration in this department. And so I hope we can shed some light, not only on how bad this can be, but also solutions. So I'm sure you got a handful of solutions too, Mike, and we'll share those at the end of it. So yeah, the chemical cocktail, what's really in these fragrances? I want to kind of just dive into this. And there's one thing that really stuck to me is when you're dealing with fragrances, the product labels really don't reveal what's in the product because they aren't legally required to disclose what's in those. And there can be literally hundreds of chemicals, but going right back, they're not legally required to disclose what those chemicals are. So that can be very harmful. And so people are breathing this stuff in without really knowing what are they breathing in. And I looked up some of the ingredients. What do we got? About 3 or 4 ingredients here. Phthalates, these are scents that make the perfume or whatever the product is, make that scent last as long as possible. And this has been known to disrupt hormones and reproductive issues. And then there's parabens, and these are preservatives, and these also disrupt hormones, and these can cause skin irritations. And then you have toluene, which is a solvent associated with headaches and dizziness. And then you got synthetic musk. And you're probably thinking, what is that? It's a chemical that mimics scents of animals. So if you have a scent that's kind of like an animal, that's exactly what it is. It's basically a synthetic musk. And it's found in cosmetic, detergents, perfumes, and linked to just different types of foods as well. So it can be a environmental toxicity. So this is the kind of stuff that it's putting in without us really even understanding the depth of it.
I remember in school, I don't know about you, Dr. Gordy, I had markers that smelled, like purple and grape and strawberry. The red was strawberry flavor. And I can't imagine what that did to my brain, smelling scratch and sniff books and like you mentioned earlier, Glade plugins, Febreze. One of my son's friends in his car, he had one of those Christmas trees hanging down from his mirror. Those things are poison. You can still get those at auto repair shops and I mean, they work. They cover up scents probably from vaping or smoking or whatever, or body. It would clean your vehicle out, get the dirty socks out of the back seat, and not just spray Lysol and chemicals and put Christmas trees. There was movies on there. They put the Christmas tree under the armpits for deodorant. That's just poison. Perfumes and scented products often contain undisclosed synthetic compounds, like you said, due to regulatory loopholes, right? This is a dirty industry. Leaves consumers unaware of the harmful chemicals labeled simply fragrance. Oh, fragrance doesn't sound so bad. Wow. Many scented products release chemicals that contribute to indoor air pollution and increase your risk of health issues like allergies and respiratory and breathing problems, COPD and shortness of breath and those type things. Some fragrant chemicals act as endocrine disruptors. That's affecting our hormones, male and female. Increase the risk of reproductive, developmental, and metabolic problems, particularly in vulnerable groups like children, like babies, and scented shampoos and towels and wipes and lotions and powders. That's like they're vulnerable because their liver and lungs and detox organs aren't fully developed, and we're poisoning them with synthetics. So synthetic fragrances pollute waterways as well, and if you're an environmentalist, you don't want to be polluting our rivers and streams and lakes, and then they just harm our ecosystems with some chemicals persisting for a really long time, Gordy. And I just wanted to highlight some of the health detriments from this, that it's pretty serious. Contact dermatitis, skin issues, hives, people on their arms, they just get itchy and rash and face. Phototoxicity is photoreactions occurs when certain chemicals in perfumes or cosmetics become more reactive under the sun. So I'm just spraying on some scent and I'll disclose that I used to use Polo cologne. I'm afraid to look at how poison that was at the time or whatever, but I used to be kind of cool, or I think I was cool and hip and used Polo. It's kind of reminded me of pine trees or something. So maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it was expensive pine tree in a bottle. And now, yeah. So isn't it like Axe sprays now for guys that they spray on them and stuff like that? I think I've seen stuff advertised, so I'm kind of curious how much poison is in that. So photo allergies, just like you can get allergies when you spray this stuff on you and then you go in the sun. Cancer, there's a lot of fragrances because of the benzenes and phthalates and formaldehyde releasing compounds and things like that. Reproductive problems, like I mentioned, with the hormones, lung disease, of course, irritation and redness, hair and scalp problems, and then just headaches and neurological effects that we have to be aware of. And it's a real big deal, Dr. Gordy.
I went on to the National Institute of Health. That's the government website for all things healthy, or all things, it could be bad as well, but the National Institute of Health. So they did this evaluation of pollutants in perfumes, colognes, and health effects on consumer goods. So it's a systematic study. So basically what they did is they took 562 articles, and they selected 37 of them that were included in this particular study. And I'm going to read the results. The results of this systematic study showed that phthalates, aldehydes, parabens, and aluminum-based salts are the most important contaminants in aromatic products that cause side effects such as allergies, breast cancer, reproductive disorders, especially in males, skin allergies, nervous system damage, and migraine headaches. So that's a whole lot. So the question is, do people who work in these cosmetic departments in a health, like in the mall or a department store, do they have a adverse risk effect by smelling that all day, being constantly exposed? And the answer is yes. And there's 4 studies here. I'm just going to mention them. I won't say anything about them. But here's the first one, phthalates and hormone disruption. That was from the environmental health perspective in 2009. And by the way, these are kind of a little bit old if you look at that. So this industry has been around for a long time, and these studies are not new. So, maybe it's new to us, circles that might be watching this, but the reality is it's been around for a while. Second, respiratory irritation and sensitivities. This was in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health of 2015. And then the third study, long-term health effects from environmental toxicology and pharmacology in 2016. So there you go. There's some studies right there. Allergic reaction, fragrances, the most common cause of skin allergies, rashes, conditions like eczema, and even experiencing more severe conditions like asthma and respiratory issues. And also there's hormonal disruption, especially with those phthalates and parabens, fertilization issues, puberty issues, leading to breast cancer. There's also sensitivity problems, headaches, dizziness, and even migraines. We just discussed that. And then long-term exposure. Consider the cumulative effects of fragrances over many years, and that can really damage the endocrine system, lead to cancer as well as respiratory problems. So the list goes on and on. So problems, just a huge problem in this industry.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's mind-numbing, and this is just like one thing. We talk about bad fats and vaping and smoke and all these other poisons and toxins, and you've really dove into water in the past and purity of that. And this can't be taken lightly because it is a big issue for a lot of people. So listen to this, Dr. Gordy. The U.S. trade organizations such as the American Chemistry Council spends hundreds of millions of dollars annually to aggressively back manufacturers in a joint effort to conceal toxic ingredients. It's just wild. It's wild. According to Science Daily, manufacturers are not required to disclose any ingredients in cleaning supplies, air fresheners, or laundry products, all of which are regulated by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Neither these nor personal care products, which are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, are required to list ingredients used in fragrances, even though a single fragrance in a product can be a mixture of up to several hundred ingredients. Gosh, I hope they get to the bottom of this. This probably isn't the most important thing on planet Earth right now, but it is a big deal.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I even saw some other studies on fragrancy and mood as far as like affecting you mentally and emotionally. And there's certain scents that are good for you, and we'll talk more about this later, like lavender. It reduces anxiety and promotes relaxation, but there's more artificial fragrances that can trigger stress and irritation. And certain chemicals that we're exposed to can cross the BBB, known as the blood-brain barrier. There's supposed to be a barrier, so what you're breathing, the toxicities, aren't supposed to get to your brain. But there's chemicals that are actually crossing that threshold and affecting the nervous system. And of course, it's affecting people's mood and mental health. So just one more thing that can affect mental health issues, which seems to be really exploding, which is kind of sad.
You know, here's an article that I have that talks about, is your perfume poison? Laboratory tests found a total of 38 chemicals not listed on the labels in 17 name brand fragrances like Chanel, Giorgio Armani, Bath and Body Works, Old Spice, Calvin Klein, other household names like that. The average fragrance product contained 14 chemicals that were not disclosed on the label, along with another 15 that were listed. So there is so much off label that people don't even realize. They think if it's on the label or it's too bad. So the exact ingredients in synthetic fragrances are protected as trade secrets, and so don't have to be disclosed. So that's the hidden little undercover secret of this industry,
Yeah.
trade secrets.
Yep. And then you can also look at, hey, environmental impact because of this. Studies suggest that chemical and perfumes and air fresheners may negatively affect the indoor air quality, leading to respiratory issues, among other problems. So I talked to this gentleman, Dr. Mike, and he works changing filters in huge apartment complex. So I asked him, like, do you see a trend where some filters are dirtier than others? And he said the one circumstance where he sees the filters being the absolute worst is when people use these plug-in or any type of like air fresheners, like if you plug it in, those type of air fresheners. And he says when people use that, he finds that those are the dirtiest. It's consistent. He goes, you walk into someone's apartment, he'll smell the chemicals or the scent, automatically knows it's from one of those plug-in air scents. So that tells you a lot right there. So chemicals from fragrances end up also in our water supply, and they can harm aquatic life, polluting the environment. So, and then those synthetic musks that I just talked about, the scents that kind of give you a sense of like an animal smell, for example. These are particularly hard to break down, and they're even found in waterways and affect marine organisms. So not good at all.
No, thanks for sharing that, Gordy. I've never heard that before. That really true hardcore evidence that those filters are so plugged up. So my thinking is, I wonder what my lungs are doing when I go into those environments and apartments and houses and businesses. If he can see the filters on for real, and I wonder what our lungs, which are filters, look like and how polluted they get with and those people there. And one thing that we have to really realize for our listeners is say, oh, I use those Febreze sprays and I use all these chemicals and I love scents. It doesn't bother me. I don't get headaches. My skin is good. And I say, great. I don't want you to get cancer and hormone disruption and headaches and allergies. But guess what? If you smoke a cigarette, you might get kind of sick right away, but you'll get used to it. People are smoking cigarettes 20, 30, 40 times a day and they aren't tipping over. But guess what? It's shaving minutes off their life every time they light up, and it's really affecting them long term. No one would dispute that. So just because you aren't tipping over today, and just because you don't get a migraine headache walking through a department store, and just because you don't have blotchy, hivey skin, doesn't mean it's not affecting you. And I believe, I'm curious what you think of this, Dr. Gordy. I believe in the bucket toxicity theory, meaning we have a bucket in our body that we can pour toxins in, but once it gets to a certain level, then we get a lot of symptoms. Then we get bodies parts shutting down and not working. So that's the analogy of smoking a lot of cigarettes. I've smoked for 20 years and never had a problem. Then all of a sudden, boom, I have cancer and I have all these other issues because your bucket got so full of toxins, it started dripping over into your lungs and your liver and your kidneys and things like that. So it might not affect you today or tomorrow or next week or next year, but it's affecting our cells. What do you think of that toxic bucket load theory?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, your immune system can become overload. Basically, immune is constantly being, just a constant pounding. And over time, that's going to weaken. And then just about anything can break. I mean, our immune system is powerful, true. And if you take care of it, it's even more powerful. But if you don't, your point is really nice taken. I mean, good points, Mike. What I want to talk about is just a little bit about safe versus harmful products. So what should we do? So natural versus synthetic, that's That's the real battle right there. Look for clean beauty products. There seems to be like a fragrance-free kind of a trend going on right now. So that's great. Look for hypoallergenic type of products, clean or natural products. You got to be very careful about unscented because they can also contain masking agents. So it gets really complicated. So the bottom line is DIY. It means do it yourself. Do some home alternatives. Do a YouTube search. There's a ton of information. If you type in natural perfumes or scented products using essential oils, these are much safer, a much eco-friendly option. So I have 7 keywords that you could type into your own search engine and look for products that are natural. So the first one is natural and non-toxic perfume brands. Number 2, chemical-free fragrances. Number 3, non-toxic air fresheners. Number 4, natural perfume blends. Number 5, plant-based cosmetics and skincare. Number 6 is beeswax-based products. And then number 7 is natural deodorant. So you can find a ton of stuff just looking for these natural air fresheners, including plants, herbs, spices, essential oils, and many household plants can serve the need as well for an air freshener. And you can look at plants like plumeria or geranium or jasmine, or you can look for scented herbs like rosemary, sage, thyme, or mint. Or you can look for spices and fruits like cinnamon sticks, cloves, vanilla bean pods, and these can be wonderful air fresheners. Then you have citrus fruits like lemon, lime, oranges, and apples, and really can eliminate a lot of odors. And then the essential oils, lavender, rose, geranium, sandalwood, citrus oils like lemon and orange. And you can make your own air freshener with using these essential oils. You can even add baking soda to the mix. And then they also have beeswax candles, which can improve the air quality by producing negative ions. You got white vinegar, and that can be used as a non-toxic odor remover. So a lot of wonderful things that people can do naturally.
I agree, Gordy. That's a really, really good list, and I really like those search engine tips. And thanks for that. It's kind of fun to make your own products too. It's cheaper, and you know what goes into it. It's like growing your own food, and you know it's pure and clean and good. My 2 helpful tips are air purifiers. 2 name brands that I really like. I like one called Air Doctor, and then I like Mercola.com. I like his. He only has one home air purifier. He has a room air purifier if you want to put it in a bedroom or a smaller room. And at my office, I put the room ones in each room, and then I close the doors at night, so then it just refreshes the air when I come in the morning from myself and other people breathing in there and stuff like that. Dr. Gordy, I don't know if you knew this. Me and my wife make homemade deodorant, and that's my favorite deodorant right now because it doesn't have petroleum and chemicals. And I actually put a little bit of activated charcoal in it too, and coconut oil, and then lavender and in other scents too, like that. Laundry detergent, we've made that in the past. But yeah, lemon, like you said, vinegar and lemon can be a cleaner and household cleaners. And we can't forget the app we've talked about in the past and you brought up is the Yuka app. You can just scan, food and cleaning products and toothpaste and mouthwashes and all that other stuff that has scent in it that can really, really be a game changer and make your body more pure and sufficient and not just keep building up of toxins. We have to really be cognizant of all the toxins. So yeah, great list. And I like making my own stuff as much as I can. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's not that expensive. And then you just feel good about using the products.
Making your own products is brilliant. I actually use the Yuka app on a lot of these products that I use, like underarm deodorant, for example. So I use this one. It's called Pretty Frank. There's no aluminum in this. It ranks pretty high. You don't have to worry about that aluminum going into your system. And so that's a strong product. For shampoo, I use this called Tea Tree Tingle. That's what it's called. All right. The next one is this is a powerful soap. And it's a botanical soap. It's got goat milk as well as shea butter. So that's very powerful. And then I put this on the skin before I go to bed. You just rub it on your face, your neck, and pretty powerful Egyptian magic. So people can do some research. I keep it pretty simple, but I use these products. Again, they're pretty highly ranked on Yuka, natural products, I keep it kind of simple. Now, as far as women, I'd recommend doing a search as far as what you're actually using and try to just dive into it slowly. Use the Yuka app to find out what's a clean product and what's not. And I would just do a gradual switch over. You can't switch everything all at once, but if you just gradually switch it over to more healthier brands, I think it'd be a great start.
I love it, Gordy. This is really helpful, and you gave a lot of great information that don't get overwhelmed. And I know you've mentioned this before, so I'm going to mention it. Pick one category, pick one thing, a deodorant. Gordy, I make my own deodorant. If you don't want to make your own, it's easy. You can find 4-ingredient deodorants online right now. You can get the same deodorant he uses and just start there. Get rid of the petroleum and those really good smelling ones that have all the fragrances and the aluminum in it. Get rid of that once and for all and get the clean stuff from the Yuka app if you don't like the one Dr. Gordy uses and the facial creams and the shampoos and stuff. So I end the show by asking, what's your number one takeaway that you heard us discuss or talk that you thought you wanted to do more research in? So next time you're at the dinner table, talk to your family about exactly what deodorants they're using and soaps and fragrances and, oh, geez, you smell pretty good. What's that scent I smell? And just have a discussion on that. So what's your number one takeaway that you can talk about at the dinner table about fragrances? Are you going to recommend the Stink movie on YouTube? And then lastly, what's your number one action step you're going to take based on what we said or what triggered in your mind that you can do to make your body less toxic, your lungs healthier, and your environment cleaner based on what we talked about? So that's your challenge from this episode.
Excellent work, Mike. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. If you haven't already, please like our content and hit that notification bell. We'll have another episode next week, so stay tuned to the Health Angle podcast, and we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.